9 oddities of the 2022 Tundra as reported by owners. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Automotive FST. So we're going to talk about some oddities of the 2022 Toyota Tundra, some that I had noticed myself when I went for that test drive when they first came out. Now, real quick, before we get into it, if you haven't before, make sure you smash that subscribe button and kick that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. So let's get right into it. Number 1, the rear seat belts must be fastened or the warning chime goes off. You know, I experienced this myself. We jumped in the truck. It was me, the sales guy, and then another potential buyer. Went for a ride, but we started rolling and noticed the chime was going off. There was a seatbelt unconnected. Well, it wasn't me and it wasn't the sales guy and it wasn't the guy in the back, but the other passenger seat wasn't connected. So we had to stop the truck, get out, and attach the seatbelt so that that very annoying chime would go away. Now, speaking of that annoying chime, and this is number 2, if you don't fasten your seatbelt as the driver, the chime kind of hesitates a little bit. It's a little bit of time before it actually starts, and then it starts chiming at you quietly and then louder and louder and louder until it's very, very annoying. And even if you stop, it continues chiming. You know, a lot of them, they'll chime and then there'll be a pause. Not the Tundra. It's just one of those little oddities of the new Toyota Tundra. Number 3, the doors are very heavy. You know, I noticed this when I went for my test drive. Had to put a little extra oomph in there to close that door. Now, the problem with that is how well are they going to hold up? You know, kind of reminded me of a car I had. I think it was a Buick Skylark way back in the day. Had giant heavy doors. And I always, every once in a while, had to grab the bottom of that door. Maybe you've done this. Grab the bottom of the door and pull it up, kind of bend it back up. It will work perfectly for a while, but eventually it would sag again, and sometimes it wouldn't even shut until I forced it back up. Hopefully the new Tundra doesn't have that problem long term, but those doors, they are heavy. Number 4 in the list of oddities for the 2022 Tundra, it has auto stop, but it engages sporadically. Now, this is what owners have reported. In other words, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes when you pull up, it kicks in. Sometimes it doesn't. Now, I know it's going to vary depending on the conditions because it has that auxiliary battery, you know, that dreaded system. So if the battery is low on charge, obviously it's not going to kick in because it has to be able to restart. But still, it doesn't sound like it's very reliable. And if not, then what is the point of it? I mean, the whole idea is to save fuel, right? So if you've got a system that's annoying anyway, at least I think so, can't be very good if it doesn't work all the time. Number 5, lane departure is sporadic and doesn't seem to engage when you really need it. I mean, the whole purpose of lane departure is if you're not paying attention, maybe it's been a long day, you're a little drowsy, you start to drift a little bit. You want that lane departure system to kick in, to go off. Owners have been reporting that that doesn't happen, that it's sporadic. Sometimes it'll go off, sometimes it won't go off. No rhyme or reason for it, just doesn't seem to be a very good system. And what I'm seeing about these systems in the Tundra is they don't seem to work very well. I don't know if it's because Toyota rushed to put the truck together, if they're using inferior suppliers. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me because they're not new systems necessarily. Maybe some of them new for Toyota, but they're not new in the industry. Number 6, another 2022 Tundra oddity. The auto braking system is too sensitive. It picks up on cross traffic and objects when pulling into parking spaces. Now, there's a safety concern with this. We'll get to that in a second. But first, let's just talk about the parking spaces. I mean, you're pulling in, right? Got your new shiny new 2022 Tundra, and there's a bush there. A lot of places have landscaping and stuff. There could be a bush, a tree, maybe a sign or a post or something, but it's kicking in when you pull into parking spaces. In other words, that auto braking system, when you have it engaged, kicks in and stops the truck for no reason. It's too sensitive. But the problem when I'm talking about safety is what I have read or seen is that when people are trying to pull across traffic, in other words, you're sitting at a drive, exiting somewhere like, let's say, the McDonald's or maybe the Toyota dealer, but you've got to cross traffic, so cars are going back and forth across, and you've got an opening, car is just going by, you get on the gas, but it sees that car that just went by you as you're trying to get out into traffic and turn either way, and it applies the auto braking system. So now you've jutted out into the intersection and your truck is stopping. That's a bad thing. You don't want to be in the middle of a lane, especially if you're crossing, have that auto braking system kick in and stop you dead cold in traffic. Not a great system. Number 7, not all trims have the taillight elbow release, or the thing that activates the automatic tailgate down, if you will. You know, it was funny. When I went and drove the new one recently, I went up to the back and I touched it with my elbow because that's what they showed, and nothing happened. So then I started pushing on that little cover. It's the side, the tailgate light. I started pushing on it, and there was some give, and I thought, well, maybe I just wasn't pushing hard enough. So I pushed a little harder. Not too hard. I didn't break anything, but it's because the truck didn't have it. I thought every trim level had that, but apparently it's an option, just one of those little oddities about the new Tundra that you don't get unless you pay more, apparently. Number 8, water is directed to the windshield over the hood when the truck is wet. Now, this isn't necessarily during a big rainstorm or anything, because obviously you're going to get water coming at the hood or the windshield if it's a big rainstorm. But this is like, say it sits out overnight, there's a bunch of dew on the truck, you take off, and it just seems like water from in the grill is directed right up towards the windshield, as opposed to maybe just blowing back or blowing to the sides. Obviously, you're going to get some on the windshield because the hood would be wet. But it just seems, as reported by owners, that it's an inordinate amount. That for some reason, the new hood, the way it's designed, kind of funnels water at the windshield. That's not a good thing. Lastly, number 9, it's too quiet. I experienced this as well, so much so that we actually had the hood open at the dealership when I was looking at it. And I was looking around inside and I couldn't figure out if the truck was actually running. It's that quiet. Turns out it was running. But the problem with that is, more of an annoyance, I suppose, is when the auto stop system is on and the truck shuts off and you're trying to listen to see if the truck has reactivated, you know, when you're at that stoplight and you want to go, you can't hear it. The only way you can tell that it's on, I suppose, is if you look at the RPM gauge. Maybe that's going to move around a little bit. Or you stop on the gas, hopefully you're not too close to the person in front of you, and you find out the hard way. Anyway, those are just 9 oddities of the 2022 Tundra as reported by owners. Some weird, quirky things. If you're an owner or you've heard some other things, leave a comment. Let me know. I'd be curious. Are there other oddities about the new 2022 Tundra? I'd be curious to know. Also, if you didn't in the beginning, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about my 2021 Toyota Tacoma, and Rob Motive JT, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.